Alright, it is day 2 on the Bibbster chop. We got everything cut apart. I've kind of got the chassis basically just clamped back together for right now. Gonna kind of see where we're at, see what we're working with. It looks awfully skinny. I'm gonna put the wheels and tires back on the rear end and kind of mock it up again, put the engine back up front, mock everything up, pull some measurements, and just make sure that I'm kind of on track to what I envisioned initially. Before, it looked okay, but it was super wide, and it was way too wide to actually drive on the road or put on a trailer or anything like that. So that's the plan. Wheels and tires, mocked up engine, see what it looks like, and then go from there. Like I said, I literally just have it clamped together right now. So that's the front. And currently I have a gap right here, but I'm not really worried about it because I'm really gonna make a new whole panel for this top piece. It's gonna have a whole new firewall. So none of this stuff really is gonna be used. The only thing I'll probably really use is this windshield track. So as long as all that stuff lines up pretty good and everything looks like it's supposed to, I'm really okay with it. Just so you get an idea. That is the 8 inches that came out of the center. So, like right there, probably doesn't look like much, but literally that piece right there came right out of the center of that.
This is what's gonna happen in your life. First it's a dream, then you take action, and then you dominate. Hard up times, hard up money. Watch your smile, ain't a damn thing funny, boy. Not a damn thing funny, boy. Cut my teeth, throwing rocks in the street. You might know my name, but you don't know me, boy. No, you don't know these boys. No, you don't know. Promise I'll never quit, never say die, never let my heart see better than my eyes. Put my feet on the edge, 1,000-foot drop. That's how it feels when you're looking down from the top. Last words don't turn men to hell, fighting bloodthirsty demons overnight. It takes a generation of square-jawed hammerheads to hang these city lights. And I'm not saying it's easy. You gotta work for this. You gotta be persistent. You gotta be dedicated. But why shouldn't it be that way? If your life's gonna be better than everybody else's. Hard up times, hard up money. Watch your smile, ain't a damn thing funny, boy. Not a damn thing funny, boy. Cut my best he could. The opposite of what he should be. Grab my girl, call the lawyer. Uncle Hustle got something for you. No one cares, it's all the same. I do this for the love of the game. I'm not Drake, fuck the fame. I keep my money, you can make it rain. And we all take risks, that's my crew. Nobody tells us what to do. We made this happen, never through or gone. Killer. Hard up times, hard up money. Watch your smile, ain't a damn thing funny, boy. Not a damn thing funny, boy. Cut my teeth, throwing rocks in the street. You might know my name, but you don't know me, boy. No, you don't know these boys. No, you don't know. My life on this. Hand to God, other hand on my chest. I like these odds. I like these odds.
Alright guys, so here's the deal. Been working on the Bibbster, trying to get things done, and I decided in this video that I'm trying not to maybe do so much commentary while I'm building. I'll just sit it down at the end, kind of tell you what I did, and then walk you through it. So since the last video where I basically just chopped the top on this thing, we have cut out 8 inches out of the center and narrowed it. I've had a lot of people ask or comment, why would you narrow this thing? Why'd you narrow it? It looked fine. The problem was that the rendering that I did initially with the body at full width, the tires, I basically stretched them out to make it look like I wanted it to. So I stretched the tires outside of the body because I wanted the tires to hang out. The problem is it was way too wide. I couldn't get it on a trailer. I couldn't get it in a trailer. I don't even know if I could get it in a garage door. It was just way too wide. You couldn't drive it down the road like that. It was just too wide. I only did that for mock-up. I kind of wanted to get the idea of what it would look like with the tires outside the body, and it did that. It gave me an idea of what it was going to look like. But I had to basically bring everything in. So in order to bring the tires in, to where they needed to be. I needed to shrink the body down. Once you shrink the body, then you got to kind of chop the top to make it fit the width, right? It's all got to be proportional. And so that's what I did. Took 8 inches out of the center, took 4 inches out of the top of it, and I may end up having to shrink it front to back a little bit. The doors are awfully long now, or they look awfully long now, but we'll see. I'm gonna kind of go through the build initially, at least, just to make sure that it's gonna look like I want it to look. Once it does, then I'll start the chassis on it. So since then, I chopped 8 inches out of it, had to put the top back on, ran into a little snag on the top. So the idea was take 8 inches out of the body and then pull measurements and figure out how much needed to come out of the top. Now, you would think that 8 inches would come out of the top as well, but it doesn't, because when the A-pillars are like this and you're taking 4 inches out of those A-pillars, really you have to stretch the top in order to get it to meet back up. So if you take 8 inches out of the bottom, you may only need to take 5 or 6 inches out of the top to make it fit. So that's what I did. We chopped the top, took 8 inches out of the center, pulled some measurements, tried to figure out how much needed to come out of the top. What I came up with initially was that 5 inches needed to come out of the top, so that's what I cut. The problem was, once I put the top back on, everything lined up like I envisioned it lining up. Everything matched, the measurements were correct. The problem was that the A-pillars actually curve on these cars, okay? And so the bottom is like this. You cut the centers out, the top's like that, and when you meet it back together, you kind of have this kind of jagged angle to it. And that wasn't gonna work. It wasn't gonna look right. It wasn't gonna look proper. It didn't match the window frames on the doors. So what I ended up having to do is take the top, stretch it out like this, so the pillars would match properly. And then underneath the top, I actually did some relief cuts to lay the top down like it should be. Now the problem with that is that you have a gap, as you can see. So I'm about 1.5 inches short in the middle of the front windshield and on the back. Not a huge problem. I can go back and fill it. It's not a problem at all. The thing that's nice is the A-pillars match up perfectly with the windows in the back section. Everything is nice and fluid and smooth. It almost looks still like a Mustang. Like it doesn't even, other than it being just smaller in dimension, and really you can only tell that because it's sitting beside a Fox body, it doesn't look that far off, which is what I want. As you can see, I put the doors back on it. I kind of just wanted to do that for structural reasons. I want to make sure the gaps still fit and all that stuff as I start putting this thing back together. I also need to cut the tops of the frames out, so I want to kind of take a look at that. It's really a good thing too, because I use the window frames on the doors as guides for the pillars. Make sure that they were lined up like they were supposed to be. Before I put the doors on though, I actually cut the inner door out and then went in there and cut the big thick steel beam sections they have in the doors for safety reasons, you know, for side impact and that sort of thing. Those things weigh like 20 pounds a piece. Didn't necessarily need that weight in this car, especially since it's going to be full tube chassis. Probably do X bars in the doors anyway. So that stuff wasn't needed. We want it to be light. We want this thing to have a crazy weight to power ratio, and so that's why I cut those out. Obviously, this thing will not look anything like this in the end. I'm gonna go back and make custom panels for almost everything. The cowling will have a new custom panel made. The firewall will have a brand new custom panel made. The top, which I have cut out now, will most likely have a brand new panel put in, maybe full carbon fiber. The inner door structures will be all redone, either aluminum or carbon fiber. So it doesn't really matter that I cut this stuff out now. I'll go back and make it pretty later. So where am I at with this thing? So basically, I've kind of got the wheelbase figured out for the most part. I've had some comments about how far the front tires are in front of the car. A lot of that is an optical illusion. The camera kind of stretches a little bit, maybe makes these things look like they're standing out too far, but they're not. This is the front center line of this axle will be just in front of the engine, which is where most hot rods setups are. I kind of need it out as far as I possibly can, especially if I'm going to do a turbo setup. I don't want the turbo hanging out in front of the tires. I really kind of want the tires to be the very front. Got some cool ideas as far as what I'm going to do on a front axle. This car will still be strutted like a Mustang is. but it's gonna have an old school solid front axle. So you'll have to wait and see how I'm gonna pull that off. The only thing I might do right now, it's like a 123-inch wheelbase. I may bring the rear end in some, so I've kind of cut this thing long as far as the body goes so I can slowly massage it how I need it and want it. So I may end up cutting some reliefs in the back panels behind the doors, move the rear end right up in there, and do like a half fender style setup. Some of the other questions I had were the engine setup. It's a 351 based, it's a 351 Windsor engine, probably out of a truck. The way you see it now is just for mock-up. It's gonna change totally. The cylinder heads will go, it's gonna have a different camshaft, probably be solid roller. Kind of up in the air right now whether it's going to be a blow-through carbureted or fuel injected. If I go in fuel injected, going to do a full carbon fiber intake for it. Not full, it'll be aluminum lower, carbon fiber upper, custom setup, maybe do a built-in intercooler. I don't know yet. We'll see. I'm still kind of weighing those options. I've had questions about the glass on this thing. So the glass on this, well, it won't have any glass. So the side windows will be always open. At least for now, that's the idea. I don't plan on this thing getting out. It's gonna be a bare metal car, so all the paint's gonna go. I don't plan on getting out in the weather in this thing. It's not even gonna have windshield wipers. I mean, this thing's gonna be a pure nice day cruiser show style. Not necessarily show, like I'm not looking for trophies, but like just a wow factor when you roll up to a cruise in or when you take it somewhere. So no glass on the side, no glass in the back. Probably gonna go with some kind of Lexan style windshield just because I can make a custom piece, and you know, if it gets scratched or whatever, I'll just replace it as needed. They do make some pretty good scratchless Lexan type stuff for windshields in race cars now. I'm not really sure the name brands, but I know there's some out there that are made for windshields of race cars. That's what's going to go in here. What else? What else? What other questions I got? Man, it's hot as duty out here. The car will be a 5-speed car for sure. It's gonna have adjustable suspension, so the ride height's gonna be adjustable. It'll be done on hydraulics, hydraulic over, coil over though, so it won't be like the bouncy hydraulics. You'll have to wait and see how I'm gonna do that. I want it to handle good, but I also want this thing to be able to lay out when I want it to lay out. That's gonna be the key to making this thing just super pimp. I don't know. It's small. I talked about it in the last video, how small it is. It's pretty tight, but I still think that it's gonna be, you know, we can make it fit. You know, you're gonna have 18 inches for the driver, 18 inches for the passenger, and then a nice tranny tunnel in between. The tranny tunnel in this thing will probably be pretty high just because of how big the rear tires are. It kind of brings the axle, the rear axle way up, so that drive shaft's gonna be really high, which is going to cause a really high tranny tunnel, but it'll just kind of add to the character of the car, I think. Alright guys, that's all I got for you on this video. I pretty much got this thing back to where I wanted it to be, so I may take a break on this, get back on the Bibbster. I'm going to finish the exhaust on that thing. I've got some other things I've purchased for it, boost controller that has a built-in AFR ratio gauge. You know, the big stuff does its thing with the wideband, but I also got a separate wideband thing that's tied into the boost controller. So I'll get that set up, gonna mount the front end and stuff permanently. Just get this thing roadworthy, get it driving. Gotta put some miles on it. Then I think we're gonna take it to the dyno, get it kind of straightened out, and hope to have it maybe at Foxtoberfest, which is North Carolina. May try to take it up there. May try to take it up there no matter what, if it's sorted out or not. May just throw it in the trailer, take it up there, and let it be seen. Alright guys, that's all I got. As always, thank you for joining me. I will be back on the Bibbster soon. I'm working on moving locations, so I'm going to get out of this small 3-car garage and have a bigger facility, which is great. I know it's not as relatable to a lot of you guys, but it's going to allow me to have events where you guys can come out, see all the projects, the Pearl, the Fab Cab, the Bibbster, the Goose. All these will be on display there. We'll be working there. It'll be a better place to film. So for that reason, it'll be that much better. So stay tuned for that. And I hope everybody's working hard to achieve the goals in their life that they're wanting to achieve. I haven't done much motivational stuff for you guys here lately. I might try to work on that a little bit. Anyway, as always, thank you for joining me. I will see you guys some more next week. No, I'll see you guys some more this week. Go do work, son.
You gotta know, like you know gravity, that this is what's gonna happen in your life. First it's a dream, then you take action.